Hello, everyone, and welcome to our presentation on institutional theory in slam dunk sports.
Good afternoon, guys. Just to give us an introduction, this presentation will go over the institutional theory in the AAU sports organization called SlamDunkSports. This organization demonstrates theories by developing consistent team values and norms across all of their teams. By implementing this, teams play with the same energy, respect, and values. This goes a long way when coaching kids. Families like teams that have pride and teach their kids the right way to do things. Institutional theory is when an organization adopts values and practices from other teams like themselves. This mirrors what Slam Dunk Sports did. Before they started, the owner coached multiple other teams, and this led him to making his own team and implementing what he has learned throughout the years. To tell you more about Slam Dunk Sports is an AAU organization that started in the DC metro area. This is a nonprofit organization with all earned money going directly back into making the organization stronger as a whole. The mission of this organization is to make kids have a place to learn and play the game of basketball at a high level. This organization started in around 2013 and has 15 teams playing in the area today. The picture on the left is the team's actual first championship back in 2013. So yeah, it's been around for a while. But yeah. And an organizational structure. This organization is structured from C to A team. Each grade and this includes each grade level all the way up to 11th grade, with trainings and practices happening around 4 times a week. The key person running its name is John Santmeyer, and under him is Jose Castro. And lastly, the tournament scheduler is Amanda Boots. And I added a picture to the right. This is one of my dad's best friends, the guy in the black shirt, played on the Orlando Magic for about 10 years. Yeah, it's one of his best friends. He helped us implement some stuff that would go a long way, like the trainings and stuff. So yeah, I thought it was a cool picture to add to that as well.
And then so for the institutional theory, basically the perspective is concerned not with the resource acquisition, but rather with the attainment and perpetuation of institutional legitimacy. And with the institutional theory view is that the appearance as a legitimate entity is valued and drives the success of an organization. Legitimacy is determined by society and can change depending on the beliefs of society. And all institutions seek legitimacy as it serves as a stamp of approval from relevant groups. Institutional theory poses that legitimacy is the goal of all institutions and organizations and will alter their practices to achieve and maintain legitimacy. And then for the isomorphous, one of the areas of the institutional theory that has seen considerable scholarships in sports management is isomorphism, which describes how organization tends to appear or behave similarity in order to achieve and preserve legitimacy. So for coercive isomorphism, similarities between organizations resulting from compliance to rules and regulations. And the second one is normative and similarities between organizations that are the results of commonly accepted business practices, traditions, and industry cultures. And the last one is metric, and it is the similarities between organizations caused by imitation or replication of successful practices.
Some slam dunk sports quotes to exemplify isomorphism. For coercive isomorphism, John said that comes from having the same expectations across the board, effort, attitude, accountability, and how players treat their coaches and teammates. Whether it's our younger group or older guys, the standards shouldn't change. So even though that's not necessarily conforming to industry standards, it's still the standards that this organization is ran by and how they use that for every age group and team. For normative isomorphism, even though it's youth basketball, I want the organization to feel structured and well run. That means being organized with schedules, communicating clearly with parents, holding players accountable, and making sure coaches are prepared. I want families to feel like they're part of something that's serious and professional, not chaotic. He also said he definitely tries to adopt professional standards as much as possible. And like John was saying, that comes from, the NBA experience too that the organization has to build off of in the 15 plus years of coaching in John's experience, just taking what he's learned from others, the other organizations that he's coached, and building his organization off of that. with mimetic isomorphism. I talk to other coaches all the time about how they run their teams. You're always trying to learn and pick things up from people who have been doing it a long time or who are having success. You don't copy everything someone else does, but you take ideas that make sense and fit your program. So I think that's a really good point and quote from him on how he's not just taking at face value these practices that other organizations are using. He's taking it and molding it to his organization to benefit the product even more. And I think that's really important to stress that when talking about isomorphism. Isomorphism leads to legitimacy. And I think a couple quotes from John that really exemplify that are I definitely try to carry the same practices and culture from team to team. When you're running multiple teams under one organization like we do at Slam Dunk Sports, consistency is everything. It's not just about winning games, it's about building a recognizable identity. I want people to know what Slam Dunks stands for the second they see our kids play. So I think that's just like we were saying with across that legitimacy across age groups, that structure in your organization, really leads to the public and the people that are determining the legitimacy, to see that. Another thing is basketball is important, but character is more important. We're trying to build good players, but also good young men and women who understand discipline, teamwork, and responsibility. I want families to feel like they're a part of something that's serious and professional, not chaotic. So it's those years of taking industry standards, industry practices, molding it to your own organization that leads to that upkeep and the approval and legitimacy from families. But it's also like we've been talking about throughout the semester with bosses. When they're in the hiring process, you're looking for employees who are going to fit your work culture, who's going to work hard and have a lot of the same ideologies as your organization. It's no different for these sports teams that we're learning about, but you want athletes who are going to want to succeed in the same way that you want them to succeed, and keeping those practices in mind will always lead to legitimacy. Another large aspect of institutional theory is institutional work, and that's the means by which institutions are created, maintained, or disrupted. As such, institutional work explains what organizations actually do in their attempts to reach and keep a desired level of legitimacy. What John said are some of the biggest values for my organization are accountability, effort, and respect. I want kids who are coachable, who show up ready to work, and who care about their teammates. Some red flags that I stay away from in my organization are bad attitudes, lack of accountability, and families that create unnecessary drama. If players don't want to be coached, blames teammates, or only cares about playing time instead of improving, that usually turns into a bigger problem down the road. So that's the same idea of what I was just talking about with, wanting to hire and get those like-minded people in your organization. And that's really a big part of Slam Dunk Sports and how they're able to maintain this product is, not only was it created on great foundations, but they're maintained through, like-minded individuals who are trying to get the best characters on the court, not necessarily the best players on the court. So separating the, product on the court from the actual product of the people involved is really going to go a long way in legitimacy for your organization. So in conclusion, Slam Dunk Sports utilizes institutional theory to maintain legitimacy in youth basketball by aligning with professional and youth basketball standards, adapting successful practices from other programs, and responding to stakeholder expectations, which are especially parents in a youth sports context. This builds legitimacy through consistency, structure, and clear identity. The only way that I feel that this could be improved in Slam Dunk Sports, and this is really nitpicking because John even talked about it earlier in our questions with him about institutional theory, was he was able to differentiate more strategically to avoid overconformity. So that goes back to what I was saying with you don't want to necessarily take every practice or theory from other organizations. You want to take these practices and mold it to your own organization to better your product, and then which will better your legitimacy. So Slam Dunk Sports already does a good job doing this, but it was just in the process of this, we did talk a lot about how they've conformed with other, organizations within the industry. So they are trying to do it, but I think it's very important to mention that in this, how you don't want to over conform with other organizations when taking practices and things away from them. So thank you all for watching, and I hope you have a great
Thank you, guys.
Thank you.